Welcome back to the Pitlane Pals podcast. We're on episode 2 now. We both have just watched and been, how do I say this, amazed, shocked, baffled at the outcome of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku this weekend. Holy shit.
It's been quite the race.
We have a lot to talk about. That was
We do.
an amazing race weekend. I have a ton of flowers to give out. Honestly, I don't have to there's no drivers I think did just an amazing race. I was sitting there on my phone because I was watching a rerun because I overslept, but I watched it from the beginning to end on my phone, and I was sitting at the edge of my seat and I completely forgot it was not even live. Just man, I'm shocked at the outcome of that. Oscar Piastri wins in one of the most beautiful drives from first place I've seen in a long time. Defending Charles Leclerc like he did for just lap after lap after lap. What a drive. I'm amazed at that.
It really was impressive.
And I know Charles Leclerc is kicking himself a little bit.
100%. I feel like also just the overtake, like he sent it down and just made it stick. It was insane. I literally did not see it coming.
Oh God. That was a crazy move as well. And I, honestly, more than anything, just keeping his composure. Like, I mean, I know I heard the commentators mention it too. Like, Charles Leclerc, 7-time race winner, and you got Oscar Piastri's only won one race, and he's in his second season. He's been in F1 for roughly 18 months only, and kept his composure like he's been in the sport for a decade.
It was insane. It was absolutely insane.
Finishes. The race finishes, and this dude comes on the mic, and he's like, whew, that was the most stressful day of my life. That's it. Like, he's not jumping for joy. He's not freaking. Like, that was all he said. And he drives like he speaks.
I swear he had a little like yes moment before.
He did a little bit, but like that was it. Like, it was just kind of like a yes. He's like, that was the most stressful day of my life. I'm doing a very exaggerated Australian accent, but
killing it.
Yeah, thank you. I do it with pride. But yeah, man, just he drives like he speaks. He's very composed. He keeps it together very well. And that was a beautiful drive. And I will say, while I think McLaren had one of the worst, qualifying outcomes they could have had, they did have probably the best possible outcome for the race today that they could have had.
It's very true. It's very true. I feel like McLaren nailed exactly what they had to nail. Like, they literally put it on point. They went long on the hards. They kept their composure. They stick with their plan. They decided to, well, basically because the others boxed so early, Lando was able to run his pace. He overtook them without having, I mean, you could say, it wasn't really boxed to overtake, but he just went long. He had a really, really good pace all stint long. And then as he pit in the fresh mediums, he absolutely killed the gap to Verstappen. Like, that was incredible. That was absolutely incredible.
And I know a lot of people don't like Lando. They think he's, not performing to the best of the car. And I know McLaren is quick right now, but that drive from Lando really was impressive as well. Flowers to Oscar and Lando. They both had incredible weekends. Not weekends, but I should say race at least, because Lando did not have a great qualifying, but it wasn't fully his fault. But yeah, what was it that I wanted to add to this? Verstappen, on the other hand, and Red Bull had, on the contrast, the worst possible outcome for the day they could have had. I don't think they predicted Lando finishing ahead of Max today. I don't think they expected Perez to go out on the final lap, second to last lap, third to last lap. I don't even know.
Second to last lap, I think it was.
Second to last lap. Carlos Sainz totally crashing into him. I do feel bad for Perez because this is, the one weekend where he was finally doing something and outperforming Max. I do feel like Max was like, yes, but just because Max is very competitive, and I know he was like, I'm losing to Lando now. My teammate's beating me and in the podium, and I'm in P7. I know Max was like, enraged a little bit, but
I think so too, definitely. But yeah, Red Bull horror weekend, really. They lost their first place in the Constructors' Championship. Obviously,
By
McLaren
20
is now
points.
now leading, also by a pretty decent gap. And I think they had a slimmer gap before Paris crashed, obviously, and they were kind of hoping that, I guess to some extent, they definitely knew they were going to be losing the lead this weekend, but
Hmm.
I feel like they didn't really see it coming in this large of an amount.
I saw a quote from Helmut Marko after the race saying, if he's given up on the constructors, and he was like, "Yeah, we already had kind of given up on the constructors." Um, McLaren should be. Helmut Marko did follow that up though by saying that they do think Austin and beyond their package suits those tracks a bit more, so that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, then we actually have to get to Austin, um, and so it's tricky for sure. I just think if the gap increases for McLaren even up until that point, say Austin was the deadline, then I think they're already screwed if the gap keeps getting bigger. Especially, you have Lando Norris starting in P17 today
Yeah,
and makes
P15.
his way P15.
P15. He started P15 because Hamilton and
Did,
Ocon started on 19 and 20
mm,
because they had a change and Ocon, I think, a
penalties.
penalty. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Okay, so he gained not 10 spots or whatever. I mean, actually no, I guess he did because of the incident at the end, but whatever. Um, but yeah, so you have that situation where Lando starts P15 and makes his way still to beat Max. And then you have Oscar driving a brilliant drive from the front, and you didn't even look like the second fastest car today, Red Bull. You looked like the third. And I just don't know if it's possible for the constructors to be a competition anymore. I think McLaren's going to run away with that. I think Lando actually outscoring Max today, even if it's only by a few points, is still a big deal for the drivers, which keeps it still alive, and it hasn't killed it yet. There's still a battle there to be fought, especially if it continues at this rate, and as long as there's no qualifying mishaps next weekend, or next race weekend. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out. I'm very interested. I know Max is very upset with how this. I think he probably had to pinch himself. He thought
I
he was
think so
dreaming,
too.
not dreaming, having a nightmare after the
Yeah.
outcome today. Nothing went the way it should have for Max Verstappen today
God.
or Red Bull.
And they're flying back together, I think, because I
Max
saw
and
like
Lando?
I saw like a picture of them with Hülkenberg in the jet. I feel like that flyback would be awkward. I don't know.
I'm surprised they fly
I
back
hope they can
together.
draw the line. I hope they can draw the line. Until now, it looks like they haven't been able to. But
Yeah. Well, what do you do in a jet? Like, if you're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna fly back together after the race, and then you have the most awful, brutal shunt where it's totally one person's fault, and then you sit on the opposite ends of the plane.
I don't know.
I'm surprised
I
they fly
really don't know.
together. You'd think the teams would just fly together.
Well, the teams do like fly. I do think they have like a commercial deal where they fly. Obviously, like McLaren in one plane and like the other teams in their own plane.
Hmm.
But the drivers always do their own thing. Obviously, also with the big salary gap, you often see that like the team, the team mechanics fly together, and then all the drivers and sometimes the bosses as well. They kind of stick to their team, stick
Yeah,
to their planes.
it is just that's just a funny concept. I think about that every time. I think I see some drama. I'm like, how did these guys are still like coworkers and they still gotta like, I don't know, like. I wish I knew if Lando and Max flew back together after the incident in Austria.
God,
I doubt it, but that was
that
rough. There was a lot of tension then. I don't know.
that
I
was
don't know.
really
I don't know.
rough. That was really
I don't
really
know.
rough.
But yeah, I know that when Max saw number 4 McLaren fly past him, and now he's sitting in P7, and I know that was that's like fuck, we're fucked. And it does make me wonder again, does Max stay at Red Bull long term? Who knows if it keeps going this way, because I know he's super competitive. They lost what's oh my god, what's his name? Oh my god,
Adrian Newey.
I'm blanking right now. Adrian Newey. Yes, they lost Newey to Aston Martin. That's another thing. I don't think we had a chance to talk about last weekend. Adrian Newey to Aston Martin is not surprising because there's a lot of rumors and leaks, but if you were to tell me that 6 months ago, I'd be baffled. I know he said he wanted to work with Fernando Alonso or Lewis Hamilton. He got one of them. In a world where Lawrence Stroll is given the opportunity to pick up another driver who wants to work with Adrian Newey, Max Verstappen, what do you do about your son? Like, I don't know.
I honestly think if there is the choice for Lawrence Stroll, one of the biggest actual Canadian businessmen, he's gonna kick his son out. I think he has to. Just thinking of the lineup of like Fernando Alonso and Max Verstappen in one car designed by Adrian Newey, like that's gonna be top 3 of constructors. And I mean, he's also this is business. His son hasn't been performing. Okay, that's give him another year. Yeah, okay, it's fine. But now you've got a star lineup coming. Okay. And Adrian Newey with 12 drivers championships and 13 constructors championships, you kind of know, okay, like in the next few years, Aston Martin's the team to watch.
He is the most impactful team member of a Formula One team, I think, in the sport right now. 100%. And I think has been historically arguably one of the best ever. What move do you see internally from a team that isn't a team principal, where it's national headlines that Adrian Newey is getting signed to a new place? Like that an engineer, the designer, is going to be a headline. That doesn't happen with like almost anybody else. And he owns now. Yeah. I think they gave him a partial ownership of the team too.
Yeah, he's like leading in like some sort of affairs. I think he's in charge of some department. I forgot which one it was, but they definitely in the deal had like him taking over a part of it.
Crazy to think about. It really
is.
Obviously, that's all hypothetical, but you cannot help but toy with the idea that Max Verstappen's, favorite man probably on the planet, who's won him 3 championships. You can't help but think. I'm just saying. You cannot help but think, especially with the trajectory of Red Bull right now, all the drama at the beginning of the year. You cannot help but wonder.
Very true.
On the other hand, more related to this race, the contrast in the reactions from Sergio Perez to Carlos Sainz was really funny to me, because clearly that spoke volumes to whose fault it was instantly. Sergio's like, "What the fuck is he doing?" He's pissed off, and Carlos is like, "What happened?" He's like, "What happened there?" They're like, "Are you alright?" He's like, "Yeah, but what happened? You turned into Sergio."
It was just such an unnecessary crash, I feel. But you can kind of understand it. Like I looked at the replay, and if you really look into it, you can see how late Sainz looks over. So I think he was just thinking that like Perez would leave him some room. Obviously, he wants to squeeze Perez on the inside, to mess up his racing line into the corner as heavily as possible. So I feel like he just kind of like drifted to the side and hoped it would work out. And at the moment he looks over, like the wheels are almost interlocked. But I was also kind of expecting Perez to then obviously move over a bit, because these are important points. And Perez with his team already, they're on thin ice. Like I've heard some things about the team relationship with Perez, and like how it comes down like to all the bonuses that the team members get really comes down to the finishing position of the team. So Perez in the Red Bull garage is like not their favorite, especially looking at the performance in the championship. So like he's already kind of walking on thin ice. Yes, he's got the contract for next year, but we know how loose Red Bull is with contracts.
We
So
know
like,
Marco.
we do, and there are obviously some juniors coming up. I mean, especially this weekend, the juniors, amazing
Can
performance.
I gotta
Colapinto,
give
oh my goodness,
Pinto, Behrman. What a performance from those two.
incredible,
Both scoring points.
absolutely incredible.
And say what you want about him being a pay driver, Colapinto, whatever, but maybe he deserves that pay drive right now because Jesus. Or
It
maybe
was
Logan
insane.
Sargent was just that bad.
Maybe he was.
That
Maybe.
is crazy to think about. That is crazy to think about because Logan was consistently P17, P16, and I think everyone was just like, "Oh man, Albon's just really, really good,"
Logan
which
was
he
just
is.
really. Albon is definitely very good, but Logan was just really slow. I think he just didn't get along with what the car was initially like to handle.
Yeah, because he was a very talented junior driver, and
Yeah.
that is what confuses me. He had issues, but one thing about him is he was very quick. He was a good qualifier. He was very, very fast. He had success in Formula 2 and Formula 3. And so it does confuse me as to where it went wrong. But Colapinto, man, has made that seem like the right decision. I mean, you score points in your second ever F1 race, and right by Albon all weekend.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And
Incredible.
like I feel like pay driver is always like a really, really negative connotation of a
Mm-hmm.
driver. But I mean, let's face it, we're talking about F1 here. We're talking about plenty of money. You can be pretty sure that the people surrounding these drivers are stacked. There's a lot of money in this sport. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously some more than others. Talking about like Mazepin or like Lance Stroll, who definitely stay inside the sport because of the money. But like to get up there, you need to have
There still
money.
has to be natural talent.
They need to, obviously you need to have talent 100% to get the support from others. But like money is a set point to get into F1. That's like something you can't just ignore. You will need it.
Obviously, no drivers. I mean, besides like a few exceptions, Esteban Ocon and Lewis Hamilton didn't come from too much.
True.
But the rest, obviously, I mean, they're all connected to, ties to some royal families or some crazy businesses, and so you can't. Hey, I mean, yes, obviously those drivers end up getting support because they're good, so they get paid to drive rather than paying to drive. So there is a difference in some regard, but you can't be too picky, I guess, with the pay driver thing. Again, unless they're purely keeping their seat because of it, but getting the opportunity, I mean, Nicky Lauda did it. Nicky Lauda did it. Look where he's at. I don't know.
On the crash between, I believe it was Gasly and Tsunoda.
Oh, that took a side out of Tsunoda's car at the beginning.
Exactly, and quite literally forced
Yeah.
him to retire.
Yeah. I don't know if I actually saw enough of the replays to give a proper assessment on that. What I will say is it does suck because, again, there's a lot of driver moves regarding the whole, RB, V-car, whatever the fuck, and what their lineup's going to look like next year. And obviously I know we talked about that last week and how I do still think that Ricardo is the clear option to go.
Yeah.
And Helmet said that they will have an answer by Singapore. Not maybe public, but they will know what they're going to do after Singapore. But in the slight chance that Tsunoda is on the hot seat, that he can't have shit like that happen, that sucks. So I will say that does suck that he is losing opportunities to prove that he deserves that drive, because he clearly does, in my opinion.
I looked into the replays again, and they obviously showed it in the race. And I will say the crash very much did happen because Tsunoda closed the door on him. Like, I mean, he wasn't in front. Like, he wasn't in front at the apex, but he did have his nose in. And obviously, you could say, okay, he should have backed out. He should have backed out. Realistically, if the nose is in, you have to leave the space, and he didn't, and he kind of paid the hard price for it. Yeah, but It's very
Yeah.
true. Moving
I,
forward, he does
I
have
wish
to
I had seen the
definitely.
replay to assess it. But I think that is a misconception a lot of drivers have, or they get. I think it's like a heat of the moment thing, and Tsunoda's definitely known for having heat of the moment decisions and kind of, you're not getting past me here.
Yeah.
I'm going to close the door, and sometimes you can't do that, especially when Pierre Gasly's also kind of known to be a little reckless and aggressive. So bad combination. But I again, I do hope though that Red Bull makes the right decision and realizes Ricardo probably has to go. Love Ricardo, but
I think so too. I,
I
I actually
I
I
still think
actually
Tsunoda
do
has just
think
outperformed him,
it will be Tsunoda and Liam Lawson moving forward for next year.
and that's what I hope so too. I would love to see Liam on the grid. He
Me
deserves a
too.
seat.
Me too.
Um,
Yeah.
so, what else happened? Well, obviously, one thing I do want to think about is, Mercedes is such a weird team right now. From the perspective of, they looked very good before break, and they've come back very weak. Obviously, George Russell did finish in the podium today, but that would not have happened if it wasn't for two Spanish-speaking drivers. You know,
Sending it into each other.
yeah. But Lewis Hamilton, on a weekly basis, and this has been a thing for the last 2 years at least, is either winning on the podium or he's fighting with Haas drivers. What is it with Lewis Hamilton and fighting with the Haas drivers in the midfield? I swear Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen, obviously this week it was Behrman, but I swear he sees them in his nightmares. Where are we with Mercedes? And it's like, obviously, yes, George Russell was riding in the points all weekend or all race, but he didn't have a bad race necessarily, but he wasn't quick necessarily. Yeah. And it's not what we saw from Mercedes earlier in the year. There was a point in the year we were talking about Mercedes was the fastest car this weekend, and we haven't said that for several weekends. So I guess I'm just curious as to where they're at and what happened to the development of that car that seemed like it was really, getting there.
I think they're like just in like a really, really weird spot right now. Like some tracks, I feel like their car can be like amazing at, especially if you have the mixture of like lovely long straights and then some nice high downforce corners. I feel like the cars tend to do better. And then they get to another track and the car will just not perform. Like they're just in this really, really weird kind of area of development right now where I feel like they don't really know where to go from here.
Yeah, and they've been stuck. I mean, this is the best year they've had since the regulations changed, so they've developed. But while they've developed, so is everyone else. I mean, again, we just saw a McLaren, a Ferrari, and a Red Bull fighting on the track, and then another Ferrari at one point, for laps and laps and laps, and they were flying. And there was no Mercedes in that mix. And I'm not, again, obviously Red Bull doesn't look very quick right now either. But I guess it's just, I don't know. Red Bull's had their successes, and I guess so Mercedes, it's like they still want to do something, and this is, they have Kimi Antonelli coming in next year. They're going to want to give him a good car alongside George Russell. That's a very promising driver lineup. I don't know. I hope they figure it out. I want to see Kimi Antonelli kill it.
I think he will. I think he
you
definitely
do have that
will.
cushion of giving him some experience.
Yeah.
Until the next regulations change, and then hopefully he can, by 2026, when everything is switched up, he'll be ready to go, and hopefully Mercedes gets that car right for their sake.
Yeah. I think they'll definitely put the work in. They'll try their best, 100%. And
A for effort, I say.
A for effort. Yeah.
A for effort. I'm gonna go with Total Wolf and tell him A for effort, pal.
I saw a video recently of the lap where Kimi actually crashed in Monza, and it was like they kind of just put it next to I think it was Russell's lap, just like to compare it, and he was not far off. Like,
no, he wasn't.
He was flying. He was really flying, and I feel like as a junior, you obviously have to prove yourself, and I feel like that was also Behrman this week, proving himself that okay, he did well in a Ferrari. But, now he's in a Haas, and these cars can be very, very different.
And I was saying that last weekend that I thought he'd see a reality check, and I was wrong.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
he definitely had a really good race.
Fantastic. Scoring is that's insane. Finishing above your teammate. Especially Nico Hulkenberg, who's been in the sport for years. And he's no scrub. I mean, Nico Hulkenberg's a respectable driver. Obviously, he's had his faults, but he's a very successful driver overall. So I'm very impressed with him. And again, I want to put some respect on Franco Colapinto's name, because I did not know his name, and now I do. And respect to both of them for the success this weekend. Ah, man, I'm trying to. There was just so much that happened. I'm really like lost on it. I did see after the race that Lando tried to snitch on Max. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
So Max, I guess, was overtaking cars under the VSC, which obviously was just kind of like everyone was a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was like 4 cars that ended up getting a warning for doing that at the end of the race. But Lando came on the radio and was like, "Hey, Max is doing this. I don't think that's allowed, right? We're under the VSC still." Full on just trying to rat him out. And I think he got asked about it afterwards, and he's like, "Well, I just thought that was the rules." You knew what you were doing. He was like, he's tried so hard to get every point out of that. And I respect it. I'd do the same thing, but it was just funny to watch. I was like, clearly he isn't gaining anything from doing that.
I think
but Lando's like, "Hey, I saw it."
Yeah. It's something really, really entertaining in F1 in general. It's like, also with George Russell does it a lot. It's like whenever they see something, anything that could like lead to a penalty or
Hamilton
something,
too.
they're gonna come onto the radio. They're gonna complain. They're gonna say something. It's literally the best. Or like even, I think it was it Verstappen? I think it was Verstappen this race. How he said his brakes weren't working because he like went off once. Did you see that?
He went off once. He's like,
he went off once.
My brakes.
My brakes.
And maybe he's right, but I do think it's funny. Like, his instant reaction isn't just my bad. It's, man, these fucking brakes and this shitty car you guys built for me. Like, just instantly defensive. They're always so instantly defensive. I think it's so funny.
You know what that reminds me of? It's obviously very, very harsh comparison. It's not the same thing, but like, do you remember Latifi in Japan, like a few years ago?
Oh my god!
Where he
dude,
took the first turn and he was like, he came on the radio. He was like, the car was something weird happened. It was like, dude, you just turned in early.
And he full on just went off the track. That guy was so bad to a degree that I don't think he even knew the track layouts. And he's like, something weird happened there. No, dude.
You went off. Admit it.
Yeah, it's like, I love. Oh man, I miss Nicholas Latifi. Actually, can we bring him back? Can we just bring him back?
Literally, we should bring him back.
Who can we get rid of? Let's throw him in the Sauber. Honestly,
I mean, like, what's the gain with that? I mean, the Sauber is like
entertainment.
Is there an entertainment, dude? Like, the Sauber has been. I feel like the most.
Think about all the safety cars we used to have.
True.
We had Nikita Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi on the grid at one time.
What a life we had.
Dude, we were spoiled with safety cars. All the drivers are too fucking good now. They don't crash anymore.
We need worse drivers.
I was thinking that when we were watching the laps that Piastri and Leclerc kept it clean. I'm like, these guys are too fucking good now. Where is Max Verstappen's tire on top of Lewis Hamilton?
Okay, but that was a pretty crazy season. That was absolutely.
I know.
Insane.
But
that was insane.
But think of some of the drama that season did strictly come from Nicholas Latifi and Nikita Mazepin just fucking up. Max Verstappen won a championship because of Nicholas Latifi. Do those guys hang out? Can I feel like Max needs to like give some of his salary to Nicholas Latifi.
Nah, he's good. He's good. His dad has this like catering company, I think, which is massive in Canada. Yeah.
That is the most random thing I've ever heard.
I swear.
For an F1 driver's dad.
Yeah, he's very, very rich. But yeah, coming back to the race.
Sorry,
we love to just like spiral into some different.
It's okay.
Different
it's
topics.
okay. It's good content.
Topics.
I'm gonna put that into it. I'm pretty sure the YouTube short content already.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I feel like shit. What did I want to say?
Oh, you lost your thought.
I did lose my thought. There was something I wanted to
Well,
add on
I'm
to.
gonna bring it to the future for a minute while you're thinking.
All
If it
right,
comes back to you, let me know.
you got it.
Um, but from here on out, again, we have 7 races to go, and these cars are close. Every weekend, these cars are super, super close, and it's been some of the most entertaining F1 I've seen in years. Probably again since 2021, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and it's been super fun to watch. And it just makes me wonder every weekend what's going to happen. I do, while I want to see the battles, I obviously mainly I love a championship battle, so I selfishly want Norris to bring it a little closer, just for the sake of I want to go into the last race with a slight chance that somehow Norris could just pull it off. And just because I want to wake up that day and say who's going to be champion, and I don't want it to be set already. You know what I mean? I love that. That is a, again, we haven't had this since 2021 where the last race actually has a championship on the line. But that would be fantastic.
I feel like
Because,
pushing
again,
it further. I feel like
yeah.
I don't only want that for the drivers. I want McLaren to do well now, but I also want Red Bull to improve. I want Ferrari for some race to be the best, and then we move into the last race and we have like a 3-way constructors fight. That would be insane.
Fantastic.
That'd be crazy.
Give me the popcorn. This is cinema. that I will be sat 100%. Man, that would be, and that's a real possibility. I mean, Ferrari looks quick.
True.
And again, like I know I'm gonna bring it back to what I said earlier about Helmut Marko's quote, but if that is true and they do think that their car can be good for the races at Austin onwards, that could come down to the wire too. There could be a good constructors battle there too. We could have, there is a world, in a low percentage one, but there is a world where we see Ferrari, Red Bull, and McLaren all fighting for a race there at the end, or for a championship at the end, and also Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Either one could come out as a champion in that last race, and that would be fantastic. And I love that. Sport's in a great place right now, and I'm excited for next year too.
It would be insane.
It
will be absolutely incredible.
And I think this weekend what we learned, again, is beyond that point. Anything can happen any weekend. I mean, we went into this weekend talking about papaya rules, and that Andrea Stella said that we will probably have to make Oscar help Lando. Basically admitted that. Just for Lando to end up helping Oscar because he gets knocked out in Q1, which is hilarious. Not good for the championship battle I'm talking about, but yes, it is pretty funny. But I'm going to bring it back to this. Lando kept Perez behind Piastri coming out of his pit stop.
True, yeah.
I forget what lap it was that he came out. But Lando blocked Perez, and Perez even acknowledged he came on the radio. He's like, fuck, he's blocking me. And kept
I feel like that was so unnecessary.
Piastri ahead.
That was so unnecessary. No, that Perez came on the radio being like,
oh,
fuck, like, he's blocking me. I was like, dude, what do you expect?
Yeah, what do you expect? You're behind the other driver. The other one's fighting for a win. What do you expect?
Please let me by.
Yeah. Lando, please. But yeah, he did that, which helped Piastri stay ahead, which also probably helped him stay ahead of Leclerc eventually in the long run. That was a big staple moment of this race too. And then another big staple moment for this race is Lando defending on Max and keeping him so far behind him for so long on the worn out tires that Max ends up seconds and seconds behind, so he can't even compete and go up with Russell at that point.
Yeah.
Let Russell run free. Sainz, not Russell. Russell ended up overtaking Max later, but he was with Sainz originally, and then Sainz went past. He held up Max at that point. Sorry. And that was a big staple moment. Then for Albon to pit, and then Lando to somehow be lapping quicker than both Russell and Verstappen. Pulled away from Alonso enough to stay ahead of him, and then overtake Max Verstappen. A fantastic race from Lando Norris, and I know
it was actually crazy.
Just to summarize all those points, that is a insane. He was a massive part in not only Piastri winning, but also him finishing above Max. And on his pure driving ability today, And I don't think whether you like Lando or you don't, that was a fantastic, fantastic drive.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I don't know if they said it, obviously because we have different commentators. I do watch the race in German. I don't know if they said it for you, but he was lapping 0.6 quicker on older, worn-out hards than Max was lapping on like newer, worn-out tires, which is just insane to me.
And that, again, makes me wonder, where's the Red Bull at? But then I say that though, but Sergio Perez looked fantastic. So where is that car right now? Like, on one hand, Max is getting, yes, the McLaren is quick, but on one hand, Max is getting lapped faster than, again, like you just said, on older, worn-out hards, and sitting in P7. Meanwhile, his teammate though is staying close behind P1 and P2 with that same McLaren in the front. So I don't know.
I feel like
I don't know.
Red Bull is in a weird space. Also towards that, I don't know if you noticed, but like Verstappen went onto the softs under the safety car, like as the crash happened. I think so. No, actually, did he before? I think he actually tried to do a fastest lap attempt. He tried to, but he didn't beat it. I'm not sure though. I think he actually did pit to go into softs for the fast lap attempt, and he didn't get it. It could be that he was then on softs.
Well, if he did, I don't think the race resumed after the safety car. So they finished under the safety car.
I think he pitted before, didn't he? No, I could be wrong about that. I think actually.
I think you might be wrong. No offense. I think you might be wrong.
Whoops.
The last pit stop I saw was Lance Stroll coming in, because he was out of the race, which literally I forgot that guy even existed. I was like, wait, where was he? Was he in the points? And then I looked and no, he was just sitting in P20 anyways. So
nah, he was nowhere.
He's Lance Stroll, but
he is Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
Right.
And Alonso looked good, but that mostly because that car is really quick in a straight line, but really shitty on the rest of that track.
Yeah.
It was a big problem. It was like the Fernando Alonso wall that nobody wanted to get stuck behind.
True.
Like it was like everyone was like a little bit worried about like ending up behind him somehow. Like that was what they were talking about the whole time, is that Albon and Norris did not want to get stuck behind Alonso. Props to Albon, by the way, too, for sitting above the McLaren for so long like he did.
Yeah.
I will say that. He did hold up Norris in a way, and very good, strong performance from Albon as well. But, that Aston it's funny because, like, again, everyone was just like, the whole race, they're like, Lando does not want to get stuck behind Fernando Alonso because all these other cars cannot get past Fernando Alonso right now. But, yeah.
Luckily, he got out in front. Luckily, he did.
He did. Yes, he pulled that off because it was great for him. And then Sainz comes out of nowhere. There was so much that went on this race. It was all out of whack, all out of order, but it just a super entertaining watch. One of the best. That might be race of the year.
I'm not sure.
Is that race of the year?
I'm not sure. Nah, I don't know.
Think about it for a second.
Before we decide if it's race of the year, before we do that, we need to do winners and losers first.
You're right. Okay. 3 winners from this weekend. 1, McLaren. They were losers last weekend. They are winners this weekend. Oscar Piastri wins the race. Lando Norris beats Max Verstappen in points. And that was a big statement race, I think, for them. And nobody can take that away. Regardless of the qualifying mishaps, they were a winner this weekend, 100%. 2, I'm going to say is this is going to be a funny one because I was kind of shitting on them earlier, but not shitting on them, but I was, questioning them, I should say. George Russell. Because of the incident that happened, he finds his way onto the podium and secures good points for Mercedes this weekend. So he's a winner. I won't take that away from him, even though he definitely has fallen into a couple of those. And I'm going to say my last winner this weekend, and I'm going to take this as a 2-1, are Franco Colapinto and Oliver Bearman. Fantastic drives from both of them, and that was a big statement for their career.
Fair points made, mate. I'm going to agree with you. McLaren's definitely the winner, no question. I mean, Piastri P1, that's perfect. Norris P4, perfect damage limitation, and yeah, just exactly what they wanted. Started P15. I mean, we've said this before. Incredible. P2 for me will be Williams. Albon, P7. Colapinto P8. That's insane. For Williams right now,
Wonderful.
Car is looking incredible. Both scoring some amazing points. I mean, I have it here. 6 points for Albon and 4 points for Colapinto. That's going to be... I mean, coming from... I don't think Logan Sargent even scored points. Did Logan score points?
This season? No.
Yeah.
No.
Coming from Logan Sargent not scoring any points to both cars in points, Colapinto in the second race. What more do you want? Like that is literally picture perfect.
Yeah.
And then P3, I mean, like we have a similar one, but I will say Haas. P10 and P11 with Bearman in the points for the first time in the Haas. Obviously, his first Haas outing, and sadly last outing I think in Haas this year. Yeah. I mean, for the both of them.
What I will say about that, to add really quick, the reason they are a winner is because Bearman looks so good, and that is their driver for next year. So that's why he looks really good, and that's why they won this weekend, because they now know that they definitely have a good driver for next year, or at least they can hope so.
Yeah. He definitely he proved himself again. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. All right. Should I start with the losers? Should I start?
Oh yeah, you go for it. Yeah, you got it.
I mean, P1 would 100% be, in my opinion, Ferrari. Even though Leclerc finished losers, I'm just only gonna say Sainz, because
Sainz. Okay, because
he crashed.
Yeah, because they looked good. But
they did look good. They did look good, but like, I feel like it was just so unnecessary. It was so unnecessary. It was really important for the constructors. Both Ferraris were looking incredible. Obviously, Leclerc in the front, and Sainz was running like fourth, and he was getting there. There were talks, at least for me in the commentary, about how Leclerc was actually, noticing, okay, I can't catch Piastri, I'm gonna fall back a bit to help Sainz. And I remember seeing them getting close. I remember Sainz overtaking Perez. And I'm there like, I think I was actually screaming. I was like, yes, let's go. I was really happy. I just see the two of them just going like kind of alongside each other for next turn. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And then I see him turning, them next to each other, and him just moving to the left, and they both send it into the wall. I'm like, oh my god. This didn't just happen. Yeah. That was just
my mouth was like the shocked emoji. Like I was full on just
the shock
like for like a good minute. I was like, no way that just happened.
Couldn't believe it. Obviously, part of me was happy for Lando, but yeah.
I didn't care too much about that because again, if I was to be happy for the hopes of the drivers' championship fight, their point gap was still the same.
Okay.
It was 3 in both situations, so it didn't benefit a ton. And so it does suck. I think I do feel for Perez. So but anyways, just wanted to say that.
All right, P2. I'm gonna say Visa Cash App Racing Bulls. It's just a terrible weekend. Tsunoda out, and Ricardo was like, what? I think was he in a P15? P13 for Ricardo. Just really a weekend to forget. Like 100%. I mean,
especially because they looked better earlier in the year.
Yeah. They definitely at least in this race had a bit of a downfall. So it definitely put them P2. And then P3 Alpine. Gasly Ocon, both out of the points. It's just like
Fucking Alpine.
Gasly with the crash early on. I don't think it really changed his race. And Ocon obviously started at the back anyways. So I feel like they were just kind of destined to lose out.
Yeah, and they're really the loser of the season, if we're being honest. 3 biggest losers of overall 2024, Alpine number 1. Just been a rough year.
Very true.
Let me think. 3 losers. Number 1, I'm going to say Red Bull. Sergio crashing is what sealed that for me. I don't think I would have had them here otherwise. But that in combination with Max finishing behind Lando, that's a big, big moment in the season for a race that could have been a totally different story for them. And it wasn't. And so I am going to strongly say that they are a massive loser this weekend, specifically because of what could have been damage control. It turned into just damage. And
True.
That is a big blow to the Drivers' Championship for them and also the Constructors as well. Now being 20 points behind. And I kind of want to add, I don't want to make this 2, but I want to make it added into that. Sergio Perez had a good weekend for once in a really good statement weekend. And I don't want to put him, I guess, as fully as my loser here because he still did prove that he was decent. He made a good statement, but he needed to finish that. He would have needed those points. That would have been good. And even if it was, I don't fully believe it was his fault. It sucks. The other loser I'm going to say this weekend is fucking Logan Sargent. I think I have him on here last weekend as well, or you did. One of us did. Rough thing for him to probably be watching right now. Rest in peace, Logan Sargent. You know what? And while I'm pulling this bit in, I'm also gonna pull in Kevin Magnussen into this as well. They're both watching from the couch this weekend. Granted, K-Mag is a different story. But yeah, that is my. They had to watch 2 young guys rookies come in, take their seats, and then both score. So rough outing or I guess lack of outing for Sargent and Kevin Magnussen this weekend. K-Mag, I love you, but it's okay. Might be time to hang it up. And my final loser of this weekend. I'm gonna say. You know what? I'm gonna have to steal yours here because I think this is. I was gonna say and I didn't want to say it because you said it already, but I'm gonna say Alpine. Just every weekend they're in this weird spot, and they shouldn't be because they have this 100 race plan to be fighting for wins. That's not happening, and it's never going to, at least at the rate we're looking at right now. And they have all these investors, and they're still where they are now, and they don't have I don't like Ocon necessarily. I don't think he's the best driver, but I don't think their driver lineup is awful. And I think that they should be scoring. And they're not, and they've fallen off dramatically this year. And this race is again, it's just one of those where I'm like, I look down at the standings and I'm like, oh yeah, Alpine's still here. They just blend into the scoreboard at this point. I kind of forget they exist. So
I feel like stake of one team should also be an honorable mention, but I feel like if we just take them,
I did almost say
time,
them, but I could say them every weekend.
We could every single weekend we could put them into the top.
I'll
losers.
save that. Them and I could say that I could put Sargent every weekend now too.
Don't do that, please.
Logan Sargent loses this weekend because the eagle has lost its wings. We're using it every weekend. But yeah. I guess final question of the episode would be, is this race of the year? Is this the best race we've had this season?
I've been so busy thinking about losers and winners now. Is this the best one? I think it's definitely up there. I feel like the fight with Leclerc and Piastri definitely adds to it. I mean, they were like, Piastri had Leclerc breathing down his neck all race long. That definitely adds to it. You had Lando with a perfect execution of getting up the ranks again. Yeah, and at the end it got super close with Max, but he made it work. Then we had the 3-way fight of the Ferraris with Perez, which obviously didn't end too great, but it's definitely up there. If it's the best one, I'm not sure yet, but it is up there, 100%.
I'm going to say purely because this race had everything from beginning to end. There was an aspect of this race, or of every race, that Austria wasn't fantastic, but it had the drama at the end of Lando and Max crashing, for example, right? This race had that. Certain races can have, 3 drivers fighting at certain times, but this race did that to a degree I don't think we've seen all year, where it was consistent the entire time, pretty much.
True.
Obviously, Piastri did pull away slightly at the end, but, that was an amazing fight. You got the drama. You had a nice comeback point scoring position for a good driver starting further back. This race just had everything, and so to me, I think it might be my favorite of the year, personally, and I'd say it's my race of the year so far. But maybe we'll probably have to do like a evaluation at the end of the season. We'll do like a tier list, ranking all the races, and
we have to look back 100%.
We'll do an official assessment. But right now, I think maybe it's recency bias. Like I just saw a new movie, but right now, I'd say race of the year. All right, any last thoughts from you?
Let's hope the next one is just as great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping so. Where are we next? I think we're in. Is it Singapore next?
Singapore, yeah, Singapore
next. I'm excited for that. That's a tricky race, but obviously a long one. So, got to be sat for quite a while. It's in next weekend, so I'm excited.
It's gonna be pretty cool.
Well, again, I'm gonna leave it with the follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, soon to be Apple Music. I actually haven't set that part up yet, but soon to be Apple Music. If you're listening to this on Apple Music, then it's on Apple Music. And follow us everywhere, please, por favor. Putting a lot of time into our shorts creation and our episodes, and working on it. So I appreciate you guys for listening. Have a great rest of your day, evening, night, morning, whatever it may be for you. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.